Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Outlawed Picks podcast. We are back. UFC 298, Volkanovski against Topuria. We're going to chat main card today. Hello and welcome, Veronica. It always seems weird saying hello to you and welcoming you because...
Maybe you shouldn't welcome me. You should welcome our wonderful guests.
Welcome you wonderful guests into our studio home.
There we go. Then it's not weird.
Yeah. But I don't think... people see a small portion of this. Where's the top of the shot here, Jamie? Where do we lose it? Is my hand out the shot here?
No.
Oh, I'm still in the shot?
Well, actually, once I've brought it...
Oh, when you put the sponsors on. Shout out to Outlaw and Vortex. I just wonder how much of the awesomeness of this room is wasted.
Can you see Stimpy touching his butt? There's Stimpy like touching his butt. Like, can you see that?
No, I don't think you can.
No.
You're missing some of the best ones. You're missing on my wall. That's
Lemmy is.
Does it cut out? Yeah, that's no good.
Which one's Lemmy?
Lemmy's there. So you get the custom Hunter S. Thompson Lego figure. That's pretty awesome. Gift from Owen from back in the day. This is Veronica's side. You don't see any of this. We should probably do it once we've tidied it up. I mean, if you saw the area,
too many tangents.
If you,
we haven't even started.
It doesn't matter. You're just giving people context and welcoming them into the room as you told me to do, right?
Okay, a little bit like less long.
See, now you're not talking to the mic.
Less long welcome.
No, I'm welcoming the people.
Yeah.
It's
hello, the world. Welcome.
It's because I was live streaming last night. You know, I'm kind of like I'm a bit more chatty in the live stream. I'm too chatty almost in the live stream. Although, you know, good news, you're going to join us for the pay-per-view live streams, aren't you? So
yes.
For UFC 298 Aftermath, it'll be both of us. Bonus. So we're going to do main card today. No, I was telling people about the room. It's wallpapered with Judge Dredd comics, which is, of course, a good foundation. And then it's covered in action figures and cars, Hot Wheels and those kind of things.
You're like the kid after school wanting to show his little toys.
I know. I love a good show and tell. I said I was going to do a show and tell of MMA gloves on the live stream. I forgot.
I almost brought them in, but... with what I was wearing, I just didn't want to risk being caught on camera.
You're wearing two different items of clothing, both had Stitch on them.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame you. I mean, they're fantastic. But, I think she should wear them on the podcast. Either that or the Chewbacca robe, which you've kind of stolen off me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, UFC 298. So we're going to start with the main card. I've said that 3 times now, haven't I?
You have.
So we're going to start with the main card.
Jamie, you can just start the video from here.
Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy, against Roman Kopylov. So, okay, right. Structure. Tail of the tape. They've got exactly the same amount of fight experience. The only difference is that Hernandez has got 1 no contest. 11 wins, 2 losses, 1 no contest for Fluffy Hernandez. 12 wins, 2 losses for Roman Kopylov. Both 6 foot tall, both with a 75-inch reach. Orthodox versus Southpaw. Fluffy versus non-fluffy.
Fluffy versus muscles.
Versus muscles. Yeah. I know which one I would rather be in this fight. Let me put it that way. Which way are you thinking this is going to go?
I think Kopylov is going to kick him in the stomach. and Hernandez. It's close enough.
First name of the show. Wrong straight away.
Dude, but before we started, I was just like, in this Picks podcast, I'm not going to get anybody's name wrong. Because one guy just went and had like a fit against me, saying I was so disrespectful for getting people's names wrong. When people at Renegade still call me Vanessa. Like, how am I
Almost everyone calls you Vanessa.
Yeah, it's just like, if it starts with a V, they call me that name with confidence as well. Like, if I don't know somebody's name, I'm not going to say somebody's name.
At least your last name's not Hernandez. And then someone might call you Vanessa Fernandez by accident.
Yeah. But it's not like I didn't have Fernandez in my last name.
Well, that's beside the point. So you should be able to tell the difference between Hernandez and Fernandez.
Whatever. So let's get back to it.
Back to it.
Hernandez is not the crispiest. He's fluffy with his technical abilities.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But the fluff also absorbs, It's kind of like if you hit that Michelin tire thing, it's going to absorb it.
Yep.
And then it's going to make you drown.
Like Homer Simpson's tactic for boxing when he was in the episode where he was a boxer. Did you see that one? Where
he went against Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I think that was the last fight. But he beat loads of people by letting them exhaust themselves by absorbing their punches.
He can't beat that chicken, though. Anyway.
No, that's Family Guy.
What are we talking about? Oh,
Is
the
it not?
Simpsons.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's like, it's the same thing.
Although they are kind of starting to merge. Now who's going tangents?
And like, you're the one that's cutting me off. I think we should just start all over.
It's too late. We're already going now.
Okay, Anthony Hernandez. It's like when you watch his takedowns or when you watch him doing something, you don't think he's going to, be spectacular in the finesse of the striking. But if you saw him against Rodolfo Vieira, although Rodolfo Vieira does get tired pretty easily, in comparison to most normal people, it's still him having good good submission defense and just keeping that pace going.
Outlasting. Yeah.
And because he's the one initiating it, he can kind of keep the thing going. It's almost like, and as the fight goes on, he doesn't look more sloppy.
Yeah.
Because it already doesn't look that technical. So in the beginning, you see a big technical disadvantage for him. But then as the fight goes on and the other person gets tired, especially we saw that against Shabazian, it almost like leveled out the technical abilities. And then since he's the one that's putting the thing on the gas pedal, then like he knows he has to make himself tired to make you tired.
Yeah.
And he just thrives in that because that's kind of his game plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I saw like, obviously Kopylov his kicks are disgusting. His southpaw tactics, he knows really well how to utilize being a southpaw and hurting his opponents. But I didn't see him check good leg kicks very well from Robertson when he fought him. And just with that, and then his next fight, he was on the ground and he didn't really do anything to get out of top position or anything. He kind of just, stayed there. So I just think with the pressure, Hernandez,
really, yeah,
with an H, is gonna get it done.
Really, yeah,
yeah.
See,
but like a horrendous first 3 minutes.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, I kind of feel like so if we look at you got me doing it now. Hernandez's record. Like, he's up against people that, like, they don't necessarily... like, Shabazian doesn't necessarily manage his pace very well. Marc-Andre Barrio goes until, either he's stopped or he's won the fight by decision. Vieira gassed himself out. Like you said, he has a habit of outlasting people. But they're all people that I can imagine not pacing himself very well and getting tired. And I don't know if Roman Kopylov would allow himself to get that kind of sloppy in this fight. I think he's going to be quite precise with his striking and
because he has to be.
Yeah, but
like, if not, he's going to get into like a takedown defense cycle, like he was against Duraev.
Yeah,
where he was on the ground, and you can manage your pace really well with the striking, but when you're on the ground, if you don't manage that well as well. Especially when you're in a very disadvantageous position and you're trying to get out, like you're bottom mounted. You need to exert energy to get out of those positions.
But do you think Hernandez can put him in that position?
Not in the first round, I don't think so.
Yes, yeah.
I think in the second, third round is where he starts. And because, here's the thing. When you're really skilled, and this is just my opinion. If you're really skilled and, you're like, you can out-technique people, and then you get hit with something and it's horrendous and you're trying to come back and you're trying to like make a grindy type fight. It's a little bit more difficult than the people who have never really been technically better than their opponents and they know they have to do that to win. Mentally, it's easier for them to push because they've been there and they know that that's where they thrive. Yeah. So in that situation, they'll go against somebody who technically is like, oh God, I'm tired. I should conserve my energy so my uppercut looks really clean because I don't want it out there because of all the dangers. But he doesn't really think that much. But of course, he could always just get murked.
I just don't know as Hernandez has got the wrestling in his game he would need to make Kopylov tired. I feel like Kopylov is going to be able to keep him standing quite handily and keep him at a distance and pick him off. Like, so higher striking accuracy for Kopylov. higher striking output and a higher striking defense, 92% takedown defense as well. I feel like he's, like you said earlier, I feel like he's just going to kick him to bits. I think he's going to be able to keep him at a distance, walk him around the fence and beat him up with kicks. And I think he's going to be smart enough to, any time the distance closes down, to be like, no,
Yeah.
stay away. Yeah. I think Kopylov by TKO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to stop him. Either a left kick or a left knee. Kind of like that one that we've just seen on that little Sambo clip, where he stopped the guy as the guy dipped down into the kick, kicked him straight against the fence. I could see him catching Hernandez in the process of trying to get the fight to the floor.
Yeah. Isn't he have Aspen Ladd's boyfriend, husband in his corner?
Who?
Hernandez. I
don't
thought
know.
that's who I recognized.
I'm not sure.
Because then when I saw that, I was like, oh, that makes sense as to why, like, the style of fight.
He's fighting out of Colorado, it says here. Sorry, out of California. And they're in Colorado, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. I know that he's from California.
Okay, so you're going Hernandez on that one then?
Yes.
What, decision?
Yeah.
Or getting a finish in the later round? He's a bit of a last round submission guy, isn't he?
I would think like last round, like TKO or something.
So what's he got? He's got 2 wins by stoppage and 7 wins by submission. Elbows and punches in his last one against Shabazian, but then the arm triangle against Barrio, guillotine against Adolfo Vieira, anaconda against Junyoung Park, and then just a row of guillotines right early in his career, all first rounders.
The thing is, like, in the UFC debut and like the first 3 fights, you see the problem that their style had, and then they went on to have a 4-fight win streak success, and now they're fighting each other, which is like the opposite of what problems they have.
Yeah.
Is how I feel it matched up, which I feel like a lot of the fights nowadays are kind of matched up like that.
Okay, right. So before I move on, Oban Elliott's on this card. Give a shout out to Oban Elliott. Make sure you do check out the preliminary card because he's always worth watching. Okay, next fight is bantamweight Merab Dvalishvili against Henry Cejudo.
Yes.
You see the thing on Instagram earlier today where he fired his coach on?
Dude, I was confused. I was watching that and I was just like, what did he say?
I'm like, is this like theater of some sort? It's like,
but then he called them like the GOAT.
Yeah, but was he saying that because like
like when you break up with somebody, it's not me, it's you.
But was he saying that because it's it's not me, it's you. Just tell me how you feel. No, I kind of got the impression that he'd said that because it was more like, oh, he understands. You know what I mean? That's why he's the best. You know what I mean? That's why he's the greatest coach, because he understands I don't want him to be my coach anymore.
Man, can you imagine someone doing that to you?
Yeah,
like, can you imagine if he just like broke up with me like on an embedded video?
By the way.
I wouldn't even know where to put my face. I'd be like, is this a joke?
Well, you see, that's why I thought I thought it was real, because he looked like what? Yeah. And so, you know, Cejudo was like, he's probably got this plan in his head. He's like, right, I'm going to do it in front of the countdown cameras, and then it's going to go viral.
You think he pre-warned him?
No, I don't. I think he pre-warned the countdown cameras, but I don't think he pre-warned his coach. Yeah, 100%. That's the way I think it went down. Oh, I think the countdown crew knew that he was about to break up with his coach.
Oh, that's cold. Yeah. That's cold.
I don't know.
But when he brought in his brother, I was just like, those are some really good like coaching tips he's giving him. I did enjoy the technical aspect of that embedded video with Cejudo's brother.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything against changing coaches or anything like that.
Break up with him
exactly.
Like mid-embedded video.
Yeah, that was the thing about it that was kind of weird. But I kind of get his point. Like, you know, I want it to be all business. Maybe he feels too close to his coach, and you know that can happen. You know, people can kind of lose sight of their fighters' strengths and weaknesses. Like I remember being at that stage in my career, and I was like, hang on a minute, like I'm making this mistake, and you're not catching it now, you know. So, you know, a fresh set of eyes is never a bad thing, but don't need to be so you know.
Yeah, but he's
Desperate
King of
Housewives
cringe
about
anyway.
it.
I feel like this card is Desperate
Yeah.
Housewives.
Yeah.
You know, what was the comedy sketch that we were watching? The bald guy, the one that always has like anger management issues. That did that 70s cartoon anime.
Oh, Bill Burr.
Bill Burr, yeah. When he was like, oh, yeah, but men, we watch along for sports, and women, you guys just watch Real Housewives. But MMA is like the perfect mix of both.
There's a lot more
There's a
drama
lot of
in
Real
MMA.
Housewives stuff going on.
Like there used to be drama
fight.
in MMA, but not as much as there is now, for sure. Not as much as there is.
It was like deep and personal.
Yeah. So
Too much.
This fight's going to be a lot of fun. And to be honest, I kind of feel like it's going to feel unresolved after 15 minutes. I just feel like both of these guys have got a gas tank. They've both got, of course, Henry Cejudo, Olympic wrestling level, but MMA wrestling and pace, Dvalishvili is a beast.
Yeah, but you say Henry Cejudo gas tank, and then you imagine Henry Cejudo that fought DJ, and you're just like, pfft. But I don't think that's the same person as he is now.
No?
Just because you won an Olympic gold medal at 16 doesn't mean...
Was he 16?
He was 16. He was like one of the, you know, like
He's
super young.
He's like 43 now, isn't
Do
he?
you know how hard it is to keep that, especially wrestling, which is such a gruesome sport? Like, you have to have physicality through the roof. And I think when he retired, it was kind of like, dude, I'm sick of training. I am sick of this. In a way, like he's really smart, he's really involved, he loves the sport, but the pressure mixed with the pace you had to keep, it was something that I saw from Amanda Nunes, that she was like, yeah, I might come back, but man, you have to be so dedicated, you can't be lazy ever.
Yeah.
And you know, and every Henry Cejudo sponsorship video is a cookie company. Like, for him, and I think he's having a new baby. Well, he's not having the baby, but...
Well, that would explain the weight gain, wouldn't it? If...
But still, it's a different lifestyle, and I think sometimes when you're watching the fights and you're seeing things that you can capitalize on and do and somebody else is not doing, you don't... It's a bit like when you daydream. You don't imagine yourself in the daydream.
100%. I genuinely watch fights and think to myself, you know what? I reckon I could get back in here and have another go at this. And then I think to myself, hang on a minute, that's 8 weeks of training plus discipline plus etc. etc. And then I think to myself, if like I worked out yesterday, I kind of got a bit carried away and did about 3 hours of kind of casual lifting. And I'm struggling to move today. So to imagine stringing days of training together now, yeah, it's.
And I feel
I have
when
to build
you stop,
my tolerance back. Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to build
And
my tolerance back.
that's the thing more. It's not that they can be the same age and they can have like the same number of fights and stuff, but Dvalishvili has kept this pace going to where he's just ticking over at this rate.
Yeah. I mean, so there's 4 years difference between them. Henry Cejudo was born in 87, so. Was he 36?
37.
37. Is he 37? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, like, you know, he's
Recently
oldish,
turned.
but not super old. Plus, he's not going down to flyweight, which I
Yeah,
think
but
is,
he's 37 in the bantamweight division, not 37 in the heavyweight division.
That's true. That's true.
Against a guy that...
Against the guy that dives headfirst into a frozen lake.
Oh my God, like... Can you imagine him
Have
as
you
a
seen
kid?
that clip?
No, I haven't.
Have you not?
No.
Honestly.
Oh, what clip I saw?
You must have seen the clip. Dvalishvili, he like dives into a frozen lake and then he comes out and he's like rubbing his head like a comedy sketch. Like, oh, dude, bump my head, and then he pulls his hand away and there's just blood everywhere. Like,
He's
fucking maniac.
Crazy. He's
Maniac.
crazy. Did you see the video that he was like a reporter? then he went like, oh, here's the champion. So champion Cheeto's fighting the number 6 to get revenge. And of course, Cheeto's going to win. And then Cheeto's going to want to get revenge against, I don't remember, like Corey Sandhagen. And he's going to win. He's going to want revenge against. And then he went, so Petr Yan is going to end up winning and get revenge against Dvalishvili. And then he put like somebody that beat him like way earlier in his career. It was hilarious. It was well. I didn't do it justice there.
Was it on his Instagram?
I just looked him up and that came up.
I'll tell you what is good is the advert that Volk did, the old man advert. It's so good.
If I could ever reach that level of comedy,
I would watch that as a TV show. Like I want them to make that character with Volkanovski playing that old guy that is a world champion. That's watchable TV. That's a Netflix series. For sure.
I don't think that's like too far off. Maybe he likes
very
that.
Good.
Yeah, maybe he really is like an old soul type of thing.
He was...
Back to this fight. Back to this.
Okay. So, yeah, I just kind of feel like, I mean, this is a 3-round fight, and I feel like Dvalishvili he's ferocious and he's determined. He's not going to be discouraged by the fact that Cejudo's got wrestling credentials. He's going to wrestle him anyway. Like we've seen strong, Olympian wrestlers or high credentialed wrestlers taken out of their comfort zone by people that have just got pace and enthusiasm. And like Dvalishvili over 3 rounds, I think he's going to win a decision. I just think he's going to exhaust Cejudo. He's going to make him feel like he's not been in there for a long time. Like when was the last time Cejudo fought?
Well, he fought Aljo, and that went the distance. But also remember that Aljo's main training partner is Merab. So he's been thinking about Henry Cejudo for a while now.
Yeah.
He was like trying to imitate him during that camp, and then now to be facing him and having Aljo, who was in there with him. So you have a lot of inside information on that. I think Merab is Merab no matter who he's fighting. He's not, I don't think he's going to be like, oh, let me change this thing, because he knows that when he keeps going, eventually he will drown you. Unless he gets knocked out.
Well, that's why I kind of feel like this is not going to be resolved after 15 minutes. I feel like Dvalishvili is most likely going to win a decision, probably like 29-28 on the scorecards. Dvalishvili gets the decision, but you kind of feel like, well, 10 minutes more would have given us a clear idea. Because like it's going to be difficult for him to put Cejudo away. I don't expect him to be able to stop Cejudo. I feel like he can force him on the back foot enough to win the rounds because of his pace and his endurance.
Yeah.
Like volume and intensity. And Cejudo just kind of, I'm just looking at how long he's been out.
Cejudo's already talking about this being his last fight.
Of course he is.
Yeah, but he's kind of like, oh, I don't know, man. I got kids and, like...
I got cookie sponsors.
There's such a difference when somebody has not attained that championship thing, like where your motivation is to get there, to somebody who's already gotten there.
Yeah, but I also feel like he says those kind of things, just like he does, like he fires his coach on the countdown cameras. I feel like he says those kind of things because it's like he's hoping that people are going to be like, oh no, Cejudo's last fight, we need to make sure we tune in and watch this one because this might be our last opportunity to get to watch him compete.
Nah, I think it's more like address the elephant in the room, kind of like Volkanovski, like, oh, you're old, so he makes fun of it. I think he's doing way to address it. I think he's doing it because he's like trying to like tease his retirement to like, well, you better make the most of me while I'm here, kind of thing. Because I just think he's doing it for attention. I don't think people care that much whether he retires or not at this stage. Like, the fights that he's had, like when he was on that streak, like his decision win over Demetrius Johnson, that for me is one of the best like MMA performances that you can watch. But I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of tired of the character that came with it, and like the excitement that I get from his fights isn't enough to balance out my annoyance of seeing him. Yeah, like, but now is when people are like paying attention to him, cause y'all like a little bit of Housewives.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it works. Hey, look, maybe it works. It's just not for me. I'd just rather him, like, he's an Olympic athlete. Like that for me, enough is fascinating. I want to know about him, like, genuinely, as opposed to like this performance that he puts on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It's like because he's a great fighter, and he's like the stages that he went through to evolve in his career. Like you can't discredit what he's achieved. I'm just not I'm just not going to be mad disappointed when his career comes to an end.
Yeah.
Because I've got the performances that I can reference to be like, here's the best Henry Cejudo.
But I don't understand why he doesn't.
Maybe he's going to prove me wrong.
But
I'm not
recently,
mad excited to watch him
not
fight,
recently,
so.
but like he's been going in and showing a lot of technical videos and strategy videos and helping other fighters, and people are really interested in that.
Which is the bit I like.
Exactly,
Great.
and that's the part of Henry Cejudo that I'm like, oh, let me watch this video, let me do this.
Yeah.
Whenever he goes on to the cringe thing, it's just like I understand he's trying to get to a wider audience, but sometimes. Just don't.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just not for me. Maybe he is resonating and he does notice the differences on his social media or whatever. But like the thing that he did on the that clip where I don't know.
So bad.
I don't know. I think Dvalishvili is going to beat him by decision.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's just going to be too much for
it's
him.
just it's a little bit like
stats, did I?
like Joe Romero, like an Olympic wrestler, but the more he got on with his career and age, the less he wanted to wrestle because that is exhausting.
I'll also be interested to see if Dvalishvili looks bigger than Cejudo because 16-4 for Dvalishvili, 16-3 for Cejudo. 2-inch height advantage for Dvalishvili at 5'6", and a 4-inch reach advantage at 68 for Merab, as well as being younger and having a fiercer beard and being able to dive through
I'm gonna tell you
solid
something.
eyes.
Henry is not 5'4".
No?
I am like 2 inches taller than him at least, and I am taller than no one.
Yeah. He's was he standing his karate stance? There? That does make him a
No,
little bit
it was his
shorter.
hair that gave him an extra like 3 inches as well.
Which is incredible. Like even at the end of a fight, it's still like upright.
Yeah.
It's incredible the body that it's got. You know what I mean? It's like corn blowing in the wind as he moves through the octagon.
He's got the hair advantage then.
He 100% has the hair advantage, but Merab has the beard advantage.
Plus, he's been lifting all these ladies. Like on every Merab video, he's like wrestling some like girl that's like a foot taller than him.
Okay, what else?
That's it. Who you picking? Merab decision?
I'm picking Merab by decision. Yeah.
Okay, next.
Higher striking output. His takedown defense is not bad, 78% compared to 83 for Cejudo. Okay. Next fight. So, Ian Garry against Geoff Neal. So, Geoff Neal 15-5 compared to Ian Garry 13-0. Ian Garry will have a 4-inch height advantage, but Geoff Neal will have a 1-inch reach advantage. Yeah, good fight this. High striking output for Ian Garry. Good striking accuracy as well, 56%. Better striking defense for Geoff Neal. Good takedown defense for Geoff Neal as well, 87%. What do you reckon? What are you saying? What do you reckon?
I find this fight interesting for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Like the technical aspect of it, I really like from Ian Garry. For example, when he went against Rodriguez, how he went to the body a few times and then he was pawing him with the hand to make him come forward so then he could sell it for the high kick.
Yeah.
And if we watch him, I think...
Do you remember his fight on Cage Warriors against Rostam Akman where he did the same thing?
Yes.
Like set him up with that head kick. Like that for me is the obvious game plan here, especially because it's Southpaw v Orthodox. Geoff Neal's best weapon, his best attribute is his clean 1-2 straight down the pipe. He's got a really good left cross. The downside is sometimes he can overthrow it and it can leave him open. So he might find himself punching it in Ian Garry, who's slightly out of range, and then Gary's countering him with that kick.
Yeah.
I can see that happening quite a lot. But I also think Ian Garry is going to be testing him with that kick all the way through it. And if Geoff Neal starts to find his range and find his rhythm, he's got a very simple, straightforward skill set, but he's really, really effective. It's clean basics. And he's got everything he needs to beat Ian Garry, but there's definitely a risk that Ian Garry, if he starts to kind of outplay him with his footwork and his range management, that he might be able to start picking him off.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what the three people that beat him did. With Shavkat, utilized that kick a lot. Obviously, he got the submission win, but it was that kick all the time. Vicente Luque, he knocked out Vicente Luque, but it was that kick that was annoying him.
Yeah.
And a Wonder Boy Thompson.
But he countered Vicente Luque's kick quite a lot with that straight left.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like Ian Garry's most likely going to let him go first and then try and counter it. So he doesn't find himself getting countered with that cross.
Yeah.
When he, you know what I mean?
Like in the pocket area.
Yeah, for sure.
I just feel like sometimes with Geoff Neal, he can be a little bit like Chris Curtis, where he's like, you have to edge him on so much, like motivate him to go because he'll be comfortable just waiting to land because he knows he has that power. So he's just like, okay, I'll wait. And people can outpoint him like Thompson did.
Yeah.
He attacked, changed the angle. Once he rotated him, attacked him again, then changed the angle. And there was obviously moments where he would be in danger. Like when Geoff Neal would be like, oh, come here. And like try to attack him and, like finish him with the left hand. But it's so left hand dominant. Like he'll throw 7 punches in a row with the same hand.
Yeah.
But then Ian Garry's been dropped by Williams. He's been dropped by Song because against Song, he miscalculated that step back. Obviously, later in the fight, he had just adjusted to it, which was really nice, as well as him adjusting the kick versus Rodriguez in comparison to the way he threw it against William, which is like, come to me, then I can have it instead of pushing you forward.
Yeah. And
the kick kind of just gliding off. So there is constant improvements and adjustments from Ian Garry in that position. I just don't know. Yeah, just with everything going on, how clear his head's going to be in this fight. Yeah,
but at the same time, it's, I would say the same thing for Geoff Neal. Like how much is he going to be provoked by Ian Garry? Like is Ian Garry got under his skin to the point where Geoff Neal's going to be more motivated and more determined? Because like what I will say, so if you look at his last fight against Shavkat, Geoff Neal missed weight. He came in at 175 pounds. It was agreed as a catch weight, wasn't it, in the end? But that was also a postponed bout. It was moved back from another event, right? Neal was scheduled to face Shavkat Rakhmonov January 14th at UFC Fight Night 217. However, on December 29th, Neal pulled out due to an undisclosed injury.
Yeah.
Now, when the fight was remade, that didn't look like a very good version of Geoff Neal to me, right? Like when you go back and look at him against Vicente Luque, like that was a standout performance. Ponzinibbio's a real tricky individual, and he was still able to take that split decision. And I feel like the lessons that he would have learned from Thompson and Neil Magny, they had been learned, but we just didn't see the result of him in the Shavkat fight because he wasn't in a physical state to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if he'd have started with more confidence in that fight, if he'd have been in shape, potentially not been, if he was 100%, if he came in and made weight 170 pounds and he gave a performance like he did against Vicente Luque, I feel like he would have at least made it the distance.
Yeah.
The reason why Shavkat was able to get to him was because there wasn't as much of a risk at standing at close range. And that's not really where Geoff Neal, that's not where he thrives. You know what I mean? He just looked to be shut down in that fight, and he had a bit too much respect for Shavkat based on the aura that Shavkat's got. I don't feel like that was a good version of him. I feel like if you get the best version of Geoff Neal, and Ian Garry might because of the fact that he's been trying to provoke him, and then you look at the pressure that Ian Garry's under, to live up to the trash talking that he's done and the undefeated record, etc., etc. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Ian Garry's shoulders, and he may have primed Geoff Neal to be the best version of himself for this fight.
Do you think he's going to try to wrestle him?
Geoff Neal?
No. Ian Garry.
No, I don't.
He's been training a lot with Charles Oliveira, and that's something that they do well, like kickboxer, like shoot the box type style into a body lock clinch to takedown. I
think he's expecting Geoff Neal to try and wrestle him. That's why I think he's gone there, because I think Ian Garry feels like he's going to be able to stand on the outside and beat Geoff Neal up with his rear leg, and it's going to be Geoff Neal that's going to try and close distance into a body lock and try and get to the top position. That's why I think partly because it's just a great gym to go and train at, and why wouldn't you? And partly because he's starting to run out of options a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there might not necessarily be anything more strategic other than it's good for socials,
Yeah.
But like the result of it is, I would imagine that his neck attacks have gotten better, because I can't imagine they wouldn't there. I don't think he's expecting to. I don't think he's planning on going in there to like put Geoff Neal on the floor and submit him. You know what I mean? I still think he's going to invest in his striking and beat him at distance, because it's just the most straightforward way of beating Geoff Neal. If you can play that range game like Thompson did and kind of frustrate him on the outside and, you know, steal his confidence, then I think Ian Garry can set him up for that head kick, you know, like he did against Rustam Akman and Cage Warriors, and like he did against Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I think Ian Garry's going to win. I think Ian Garry's going to probably a decision. I could see Geoff Neal catching him at some point, hurting him, dropping him, and there being a real scary moment for him. But I ultimately think Ian Garry's most likely going to outpoint him and 29-28 scorecard it.
Especially because of his fight against Neil Magny. You saw him using jabs and calf kicks, and he used that really well, and he didn't kind of go all the way over with excitement to try and get like a super finish or anything. He was like, this performance is just as good or even better than a finish because I looked like I have outclassed my opponent. And thinking that way, it gives you, I think, an advantage because it puts you less in danger. You're less likely to take risk and you're more likely to play a smart fight, which he already has the fan base behind him, and all he has to do is not lose.
Yeah.
You going Ian Garry by what?
I think Ian Garry by decision, by a close decision, but I think he'll take it. What do you reckon?
So do we know what the injury from Geoff Neal was? No, we don't.
It just says
nothing.
Undisclosed. I've not seen anything.
And then he shows up next fight.
Armor elbow or something like that.
Armor elbow.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so now you're signaling, Jamie, that it was his left arm
Was it
or
his
left
left?
elbow.
I don't know which one, but he was on an interview with Ariel and he was saying about surgery on one of his arms. I think.
Okay, I'm going for Ian Garry.
If it's
I
his
just said
left
he
arm,
threw
then-
the same punch like with the same hand like 8 times.
Maybe that's because he couldn't throw his other one though, and he needed surgery.
Yeah, I just think Ian Garry's at the point. You know where Israel Adesanya was in the corner and he's like, I'm gonna die here, you know, to get this victory. I think that's where Ian Garry's at.
You think?
Yeah. Man, it's
I
like
don't know. I even think sometimes people, if they feel backed into a corner, they don't. That's not how they feel. I think Ian Garry feels like he's going to be technically better than Geoff Neal, and I feel like the game that Ian Garry's already shown us is enough to beat Geoff Neal, as long as Geoff Neal's kind of like discouraged,
lulled to sleep.
just discouraged, you know. And as you said, that's what we've seen from Ian Garry. He's happy to not overextend himself and just slowly beat someone up from a distance. And I think he'll do that to Geoff Neal. And I think if Geoff Neal tries to wrestle or grapple, then we might see a bit of a jiu-jitsu flair from Ian Garry. But aside from that, it'll be a kickboxing match.
Yeah.
And Ian Garry takes 2 rounds to 1.
Yeah. You think he gets dropped in the first?
I think he gets dropped probably end of the first.
Yeah.
End of the first.
This
You know what
is
I mean?
like
Bit baby giraffe, like slumps and then all of a sudden it's back to life. And then the bell goes.
that drop against Song was like
He can punch, that guy can. But then so can Geoff Neal. So which way are you going?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Ian Garry.
Ian Garry. Okay.
Yeah.
Two both of those
Decision,
decisions, yeah. Okay, so co-main event. Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa. I have done a war room on this as well as the main event, so please make sure you check them out. But you don't get Veronica's perspective on that, and she's done a lot of research on these fights over the last few days. You've been immersed in UFC Fight Pass. Rob Whittaker, Paulo Costa. How do you see it?
This is another Real Housewives type of scenario.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Paulo
Because
Costa.
of Paulo Costa.
Yeah, exactly. Because of Paulo Costa. You have Robert Whittaker, which is in the same spot as Max Holloway. So like only loses to like champion type people. But not there right now, but was. And then you have Paulo Costa, who was on this giant rise and then lost to Israel Adesanya. And it felt like he dropped off the face of earth. Like that just sent him on a mental spiral to the point where people still really talk about him and like him, and he's still very relevant in comparison to the amount of fights he has, because his Instagrams or his Twitter and stuff, he's really funny, he's really active.
Do you think it's him that does it?
Well, from what I've seen, his girlfriend fiance thing has a lot to do.
Girlfriend fiance thing.
Well, I don't know which one they are.
One of them.
They're either there's
it's how it is these days,
She kind of runs his media a lot. Charge? Yeah, I think so. You can tell.
That's common these days.
You can because there was a picture with him and Tracy Cortez, and I think they did it as a media stunt thing, especially because what was going on at the time. But then you put a picture with him and his missus. So it kind of looked like you put a picture of me. Yeah. I was sick of seeing that.
Better remind everybody.
So, yeah, and then obviously he was getting in shape for Hamza, and then he had the staff. And I'm not saying he didn't have staff, and I'm not saying that didn't happen, and that's not, something that you can't, it happens.
Yeah.
It's pretty common.
Pretty common.
And it's horrible, and you can't really fight. And, fighting on antibiotics, let me tell you, it is not good.
Yeah.
You are horrendous. But it was like that, and then he fought Marvin Vettori, and he showed up a super heavy for it. He didn't even care. He has 5 canceled fights so far.
Did he not care though, or do you think he was kind of he was trying to play an advantage here, and forcing the hand of Vettori? I can't remember who it was in the commentary that said it. It might have been, I can't remember, but they said. They said, they suggested at least, do you think that he did it on purpose, knowing full well that Marvin Vettori is not going to turn the fight down?
Yeah, because Marvin had 8,000 canceled fights at that moment. So he was in a desperate spot. And they're both big dudes.
Yeah.
Right? They're both cut a lot of weight and...
Battle of the meatheads. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
And that's why people were excited about it. I remember seeing a bunch of memes and stuff of... Well, it was with Joe Romero and Paulo Costa, and they both trying to fit in a door. The
thing is, though, if you look at it from Paulo Costa's perspective, it's a very difficult fight no matter what, because Vettori's they're both tanks, right?
Yeah.
Marvin Vettori doesn't slow down. He will take a shot. He barely flinches when he takes big punches and kicks. Do you know what I mean? So from Costa's perspective, he would have thought to himself, well, the one thing that I could have an advantage, especially over 5 rounds, is to be bigger.
Yeah.
Right? And I kind of feel like he might have played his hand and pushed this tried to push it in his favor by getting Vettori to come in really light, and then the last minute being forced to take a fight at a higher weight. Do you know what I mean? And I think from Costa's perspective, it was going to show its dividends over time.
Or do you think he was trying to get the fight canceled? Because he's been complaining about how much he doesn't get paid based on how popular he is. And if you look at his last fight against Luke Rockhold, obviously this isn't, I don't know if it's accurate, I haven't seen his contract, but disclosed pay, $65,000 base, right? With how popular Costa is
that 65 and 65 though?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
but still, it's not a lot for Paulo Costa.
So what was his purse for Vettori then? Because the thing is, I understand if he's protesting because he wants to get paid more, but if he's taken the fight and then he shows up overweight and still ends up fighting, I don't know. I just kind of feel like it might have been a bit of a...
Yeah, but if you're in that spot, what do? You show up, right? You show up, you're 20 pounds overweight. And then you go, I guess the fight's canceled. And then your opponent goes, no, I'll take it. Yeah, what do you do? You got to take it.
Of course. But that's the thing is that, I feel like he was trained and ready to go 25 minutes. And I feel like he thought Vettori was going to back down if he was too heavy. I think he came in heavy because... you look at the condition he was in against Luke Rockhold. He looked really good in that fight. He looked lean. He looked strong.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? It was,
okay, but also Luke Rockhold was wearing a sleeve like up to his knee.
Yeah. I'm not
and
saying
like,
it wasn't.
and he came.
I'm not saying it wasn't a budget version of Luke Rockhold. I felt bad for him being in there, but there's no doubt that Paulo Costa looked a very, very different version of himself than he did against Adesanya and Vettori. Right? Like Adesanya, like Romero, he was thick and he was heavy and he'd rehydrated well and he was able to keep a pace on Romero for 3 rounds and it was a fun fight to watch.
Yeah.
Right? And I talk about it in the War Room, the difference in his output from one fight to the next, right? He went from 3 rounds against Yoel Romero, he landed 106 strikes. Then he went into the Adesanya fight and he landed 12. Then he went into the Vettori fight over 5 rounds and he landed 172. Like, it was like, even though he wasn't in particularly good shape physically because we were expecting him to be a middleweight, he was still in good shape gas tank wise. Like, he'd still done the rounds of training. He'd just not done the weight cut. He'd just not done the discipline with his diet.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, it for me, it felt like he was preparing in his head for a light heavyweight fight all along. And he was allowing that secret to be his and his alone. So knowing Vettori's going to take the fight because he had loads of cancelled fights and he's that guy, of course he's going to take the fight. Let's go. You know? What the fuck, bro? I was right about balls. But you know what I mean? I think he played his hand well, and I think he expected to be able to get a win on his record over someone that was ranked and, you know, maybe force the hand of the UFC because no one's going to remember in the long term that it was a light heavyweight fight. Yeah. You know?
Especially when you see the name, it's somebody from the division, so who cares?
So then, if he got 65 and 65 for the fight against Luke Rockhold, he must have been satisfied with that purse because he came in ready and looked really good. So I'm hoping that whatever his next purse is, whether it, I don't know, let's say it goes up to 75 and 75 for this fight against Whittaker, like if he's happy with that, I expect to see him in the same kind of shape and put in the same kind of performance. And I think that version of Paulo Costa over 15 minutes, even though he doesn't have the same kind of like technical IQ, I would say, than someone like an Adesanya, I still think purely volume and aggression, he could put Whittaker on the back foot, force him up against the fence, and kind of duplicate what Duplessis did to him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that happen. Especially because, you know, he's coming off a knockout loss and everything that happened. I don't think Costa has the same wrestling abilities as Duplessis has.
No.
Like to take him down and to kind of tire him out in that direction. But it's a lot harder for him to utilize his karate style if he's getting so pressed up against the fence. And he has a really good body kick. Mm-hmm. You can just see that he's done that in combinations of like pad work over and over again because it's almost like a go, and it's a set combo.
And he doesn't really care what he's landing on either.
Yeah, because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. See, I think if Whittaker finds himself backed up against the fence, he can't be hanging out there and trying to cover and defend boxing combinations and kicks because they'll just wear him down and hurt him. I think in that situation, he's got to either strike off the fence and move or wrestle. Like, we've seen a few times now, Whittaker's started to... In fact, let me pull the stats up. I've not switched over to this fight yet. We've seen Whittaker land a few good takedowns in his recent fights. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see him utilising that if he finds himself under pressure. Not necessarily because he's going to keep the fight on the floor and control it there, but because it'll force Paulo Costa to work.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so he got 4 against Gastelum. He got 4 in the rematch against Adesanya. He got 1 against Vettori, 1 against Duplessis, 2 against Darren Till. Yeah, that was kind of the turning point because up to that point we'd not seen him. We go all the way back to Uriah Hall, 2015 for a takedown because he went Natal, Brunson, Jacare. Why would you try and take him down? No takedowns against Romero in either of their fights. Nothing against Adesanya in the first fight, and then took a bit of time out, regrouped, did a load of jiu-jitsu, got his gi back on, enjoyed learning the art, and then started adding takedowns back into his game around the Darren Till fight. And that for me was a good turning point, and something I feel like he can use in this fight. I don't necessarily know as he's going to start adding submissions back into his game just yet, especially because it would probably be a waste of energy against Costa. He's never been subbed. He's been stopped once by Adesanya, but I think we're going to see Whittaker try and fight at a distance and damage his lead leg.
Yeah, with those side kicks to the knee. Yeah.
Bust his nose, and then if he's under pressure, wrestle.
Mm.
But I actually am leaning towards Paulo Costa on a decision here.
Yeah.
I just feel like volume-wise, I you know what I mean? And maybe it's timing, maybe it's this point in their career. And maybe perhaps I'm underestimating the veteran like I did with Jack Hermansson. I'm potentially underestimating Rob Whittaker. I just don't know I feel like this over 5 rounds is a different fight. I feel like Whittaker can play a longer game over 5 rounds and stay a bit safer. But over 3 rounds, I feel like he's got to start faster than he would like to.
Yeah.
In order to be able to keep up with Costa's pace.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Whittaker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But by what?
By decision.
By decision.
Plus his wife's pregnant, so he has to fight hard.
Oh, well.
Dude, you got to mix a little bit of people's personal lives into how they're going to fight. Because the fights aren't every weekend, you know? It's a long time in between. Paulo Costa had, hair implants during this time. Psychologically, he must not be that...
There's been a few people that have grown a full head of hair since Paulo Costa last fought.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm actually surprised that the UFC doesn't have a new sponsor. Because it's getting to the stage where it's 10% of the card.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, okay, what about the corner
I wonder
team?
if they could do shoulders. Just because you just have Sergeant Major, stripes on shoulders. Can they do hair transplants anywhere? You know what I mean? Could I have a second set of eyebrows above the ones
you
I've
don't
already
need
got?
more eyebrows.
I'm just wondering. I'm just, how far can they take it? Are they restricted to only where hair would naturally grow?
I guess that's what people are most bothered about, yeah.
You remember Brian Ebersol? You probably don't remember Brian Ebersol, but he used to shave his chest hair into interesting shapes. But he was fortunate enough to have, a luscious amount of almost Austin Power-esque chest hair, so he could shape it into arrows and stuff. But if you don't,
which way the arrow points?
Well, up for fights, down for weekends. But it's if you really desperately want an arrow on your chest in hair and you don't have a hairy chest, can you go to, Paulo Costa's mate and be like, will you just take a bit off this and
put it somewhere else?
I want an arrow on my. I'm just wondering. Not that I would have it done, but it'd certainly be interesting, right?
Yeah, maybe don't think about it too much. Okay. I'm going to go with Whittaker. He's consistent and he lost, but he lost against a hungry guy that was for South Africa in this trajectory. Yep. He thought it was destiny and stuff. Paulo Costa has been playing Twitter too much. Mm-hmm. And, he went and he fought against Luke Rockhold, who was in a worse position than he was somehow. Yeah. So
Luke Rock old. That's who he fought.
I'm just not convinced. I think that fight against Israel Adesanya just broke some of his soul, spirit. Yeah. Something broke in that fight.
I don't know.
And I don't think he's the same person anymore.
I don't know. I'm surprising myself here, but I'm kind of leaning towards Paulo Costa by decision.
All right, I'm
just
going
purely based on volume.
Whittaker by decision.
Oh, yeah.
Based on touch, bam, jab.
Touch, bam.
Head
bam,
kick.
Motherfucker, bam.
You can't curse.
I can do what I want. It's the Outlawed Picks podcast. You forget.
Yeah, anytime I say anything remotely bad, you give me such a mean look.
Well,
main event. Let's go.
If I give you permission to curse whenever you feel like it, you won't say anything else. You'll just curse.
That is not true.
People don't realize how much
I do not curse. I do not say bad words. I'm a well-educated person.
I'm a well-educated person. Okay, so you're going with Rob Whittaker, are you? I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with Paulo Costa. I'm just gonna
roll the dice.
I'm just gonna roll the dice. Because what is this whole podcast about if it's not about having fun? Okay, main event time.
Yes.
The Great versus El Matador. Alexander Volkanovski defending his belt featherweight title against Ilia Topuria. Okay, tail of the tape, quick. Alexander Volkanovski, 26 wins, 3 losses on his record. Ilia Topuria, 14-0, undefeated. 1-inch height advantage for Topuria at 5'7", 2-inch reach advantage for Volkanovski at 71 inches. Very good takedown defense for Topuria at 92%. Lots of submission attacks. Good takedown attempts as well. Much improved striking as well in his UFC career. Although he was a good power puncher earlier in his day, he's definitely added to that skill set now, for sure. What do you think?
I'm so excited. I've been thinking about this all week.
You have.
I've been watching all their fights.
All of them.
And I've been thinking, and also you got a Real Housewife this thing. Okay. This is the Real Housewife card.
Okay.
You got Volkanovski, who was just like, please give me a fight against anybody to try. Did you see the countdown video where he was like, I just thought this would whip me back into shape.
Yeah.
As a fighter, like almost every fighter can tell you that they know what it's like to be in that position.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know when you're gonna fight. Like you're in training camp, you're out. It's hard to keep a motivation, especially with what he's achieved and how grand it's been. And because he like went for something that needed surgery, you get to the point, especially Volkanovski. I mean, he'd probably be like the president or something. You know, he's so popular and such a good role model for humanity.
Yeah. Humanity.
Just all
go
of
as
it.
big as you can. Humanity. Not his neighborhood. Not underprivileged kids.
But like
Not the
what do you
young
want?
prospects coming through MMA. Humanity.
Yeah, like what? Okay. He's achieved a new level of status, in my opinion, when he came out with that commercial.
Okay. So it's about his acting skills now, is it?
No, it's not about his acting skills. It's about the intelligence that he did to grab the situation, and instead of going, oh, you think, you know, like Aldo did versus McGregor. Oh, you think you're this like hot shit? Like you're gonna come at me? I'm the king. I've been, you know, running this thing. I'm gonna bust you up. No, Volkanovski did a comedy sketch. Like,
so whose idea was that, do you think? Do you think that was the UFC's idea, or do you think that was his idea?
no, I think that was his idea.
You reckon, yeah?
I think that was his idea.
Because it was brilliant, but he played it so well as well. You know what I mean?
I think
really
he actually like might be a little bit.
did. Like a proper old man. You reckon?
Yeah,
he likes
he
you
looks
reckon?
like it. He's like a strong old man that does like the barbecue, you know, like
Oh, yeah, for
out
sure.
wrestle a kid and stuff like that. But I think because Ilia, this fight is really good for him emotionally, in my opinion, because he was at the point where he wiped out the division and he went up and he didn't succeed, and then he kind of probably had like, you know, the adrenaline of training for a fight, and especially being Volkanovski, that's a level that I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I know it from my perspective, and it's like, it's massive. Imagine his. It's crazy, the dump of meaning of life
Yeah.
that you get, especially to the emotional height that he's reached, right? And then he has that loss, and it's horrendous, and you're trying to whip yourself back into shape, but you need the right opposition to get you back.
Mm-hmm.
I feel when you're a champion and you've been a champion for so long, you need the right person, and I feel like Ilia Topuria has just it's the right thing for him, because he's like, oh, you know. So Volkanovski, I'm gonna humble you, and it gives him this extra motivation to train that he was looking for, that he thought he was gonna get from rolling the dice versus Makhachev, but in reality, I feel like he's gonna get from proving everybody that he's not too old, and proving that, you know, I'm gonna show you up, you little kid, and all these things. So I feel in that emotional aspect, and you can see it in the way he handled Ilia's confidence. He didn't take it as like, oh, you know, he made a joke about it, and he didn't get riled up. He's like, I'm gonna show you, kid, you know, and So that in that regards, emotionally, I feel like it's a good fight, even though it may to some people, for some reason, seem like Ilia is disrespectful.
But then the way that you pose it though is if Volkanovski, if this is the fight that Volkanovski needs, then he's probably really grateful for Topuria, which means he's probably not in a place where he's going to get offended or upset, because he's just happy that he gets to fight. He's happy he gets to defend his belt and prove people wrong, and like that's where he thrives. He doesn't. He's not like he's not going to be motivated by anything Topuria says, the way that he acts, the fact that he's already put 15-0 on his Instagram or anything like that. That's not gonna bother Volkanovski in a negative way, because I think he's going into this fight, at least from the way that he was talking on the countdown show, and coming out of that short notice Makhachev fight. It seems to me like he's going into this fight with just a lot of gratitude that he's able to compete.
Yeah.
And I think that puts him in a really bulletproof position, because he can then poke fun at himself, and he's not gonna, like that advert that he did, I thought was fantastic, and I think that would be his mentality. He's always there for the crack and there for the laugh, and I think maybe if anything, he sees the pressure that Topuria is feeling and almost empathizes with him a little bit, because he knows what that pressure feels like, and he's not there. You know what I mean? Like Topuria, undefeated, high expectations, lots of eyes on him. To lose right now at this point for him would be devastating. It might be exactly what he needs to make him a better fighter, but he might just not. He might just not be ready to deal with Volkanovski over 25 minutes. Like Volkanovski's not gonna give him the same kind of opportunities that Josh Emmett did, for example.
Yeah.
Like Emmett's tough and durable, moves well, is conditioned, but takes damage like all the time. Is damaged often. He's injured and dealing with all kinds of things. Doesn't have the same kind of movement that Volkanovski does. The same kind of threats coming over the top and underneath. And I also think we might see Volkanovski wrestle Topuria as well. Because if Volkanovski gets in top position, he knows that Topuria is going to get stuck there. He has in lots of his fights. Even if he's been on the back and he's fallen off and lost the rear naked choke position, he stays on his back, starting to search for arm bars and stuff. And like Volkanovski's sub-defense against Ortega, I think he would need to be concussed before submitting. Sorry, let me say that again. I think Topuria would have to land something concussive before he was able to submit Volkanovski.
Yeah, like Charles versus Makhachev.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking Volkanovski's going to do it. I think it'll be a tough fight, but I think he'll eventually get to Topuria and put that first loss on his record. Might be a rough couple of rounds, but I think Volkanovski's going to lean into his experience in this one and drag it into the later rounds, and force Ilia Topuria to deal with a really swollen leg and constantly giving him new looks, changing his stance and drifting in and out, rushing, throwing bombs over the top. Yeah. I think Volkanovski.
Yeah, I agree, kind of just for the same reasons. Like there was a time, for example, when he fought Yair Rodriguez, where he went inside leg kick, to switch to the hook, and then when he did it in that time, he went back, in like a backwards trajectory, and he missed, and then he reset it, and he did the same combo but adjusted it, and it landed. But you can also see Ilia Topuria doing things like that. Like for example, when he fought Jai Herbert, which is something that I think Volkanovski might use, like that lead head kick. We saw him use it a bit in the countdown, and he's always kind of had it, but not landed it that great because everybody was so much taller than him, and because Ilia Topuria is taller, but not really that much.
Yeah, not enough for it to
make a difference. Yeah, he's somebody that he can land it easier than somebody as tall as Yair or something. Like reaching to that is, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Especially with somebody with so much muscle like Volkanovski. But those adjustments I really like. And I feel Volkanovski, he's kind of like
Yeah. You saw that in the Aldo fight. Like he would rush into range and then stop and then rush again a second time.
Yeah, and that
second rush it would freeze Aldo up a little bit.
And you tense and you wear yourself out. And we've seen that. Like Topuria doesn't like that. He doesn't like being tired. And sometimes, well, he has massively, every fight, I feel like he's adjusted the problems that he's faced and he's moved forward. Like versus Salah, I feel like he made that fight a lot more difficult than he needed to just because he was
just too obsessed with the submission finish.
Yeah, like to get something, especially head and arms. He's really comfortable with anything head and arm. The way he grabs the back when he's going for a takedown. Obviously, he's from Georgia originally, and like he's training with his brother and his family have all that background, and it's just, you can tell that it's very rehearsed, very clean. Those things that he can get, all his combos are very, very clean.
Oh, I never sent you that takedown off the fence, did I? That I was telling you about.
Oh, no.
It was a clinch up against the fence. He was leaning into his opponent, and as they pushed off, he just turned and reaped the leg. It was beautiful timing. I'll have to find you. Yeah, just so fluid with it. But the fluidity is good for his takedowns, but bad for his submissions because he gets caught in a bit of a jiu-jitsu mentality.
Yeah.
I actually really preferred his fight against Josh Emmett because he was just about beating him up. Like, if he can play that game, then he's going to make smarter decisions overall. Even if he does start to attack submissions, his mentality will be to strike and score first.
But he does show a lot of patience, and so like with Ryan Hall, that fight kind of like it impressed me because he didn't go, oh, I'm gonna knock you out, you scrawny dude. He went, oh, I'm gonna respect this, and I'm gonna attack when is necessary and when I feel like I have that fight. And he did the same versus Josh Emmett. Like, he respected him and attacked when he needed to. I also think a part of that is energy conservation. I don't think it's patience, but it's also him wanting to maintain this, like clean performance. He looks like he prides himself in how good things look to the outside. There was one fight in his early career where he got really tired, and it was not a good look for him. I would imagine he would look back on that and feel quite uncomfortable. Yeah, and if you look at him now versus him then, the muscle mass he has put on.
Yeah,
he looks like way more filled out for in the division, and with that muscle mass, of course, it's great when you utilize it correctly, but it also makes you more tired. When it goes down to Volkanovski has arms so long. So long.
Yeah, only 2 inches difference though in the reach apparently.
Oh really?
Yeah, but then Topuria is really compact the way that he stands. So which way are you going then?
I think Ilia will be champion. Maybe just not this Saturday.
Yeah, I think that as well.
Like I think for sure he will become champion. Just maybe if Volkanovski wouldn't have lost to Makhachev this last time around, he would have beat him.
Yeah.
But I
coming
think,
off that,
that's the lesson that he needed anyway for this. And plus, I will let you guys in on a little secret.
Oh shit, here we go.
When I posted that his video was very funny, he said, "Haha, it was a good one." That's it. You're gonna win. So, although Ilia Topuria actually follows me, and I did an interview with him, so
you're not at all biased. It's just which one's liking your stories, and you'll vote that way.
Yeah, because they're obviously smart individuals.
No, because you don't want to pick against them and then bump into them.
Like, they beat me up.
Hey, well done on your fight, and they're like, "Yeah, I know you picked against me."
You guys don't even understand how much this puts me in a compromising position.
It doesn't.
Fight week.
It doesn't.
People look at me.
You just need to need to understand why you made the selection that you did. If you make a pick, you need to be able to explain that pick to the person that you picked
Absolutely,
against.
But some people just don't like. That's it. It goes. If you pick against me in a fight, I understand. I mean, like, okay.
But that's the thing. Yeah, is you've got to have an understanding,
fair play,
right?
Based on what you know, based on what is out there, I understand. But not everybody might feel that way, and I just don't want to make people upset.
Well, if they're going to be super sensitive, I'm always going to pick against them.
Yeah.
So which way are you going?
Volkanovski.
Decision?
4th round stoppage.
Oh, yeah. I kind of feel like he's going to get a stoppage as well. I feel like he'll get to him. Yeah, 4th round, 5th round. I'm looking forward to it.
You think Ilia might drop him, though? Like, hurt him in that first round? Second round?
No. But I do think he'll tangle him up. I think he'll almost have a neck or an anaconda or something.
Yeah.
And we're going to see Volkanovski doing that Homer Simpson reverse escape. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good fight.
This
it's a good card.
This is why Bisping was like, as soon as I walked out, Bart Simpson, because he just can bring up Simpson references all the time.
Wow, there's just so many good
All right,
Simpsons
make sure
references.
you like. I forgot to say.
Yeah, I have been remembering on the War Rooms, though. In
Yeah.
my defense, I have. So do like
Okay.
and subscribe
So it's my fault.
if you can. And
If
yeah.
you can't, come on, it's not
Yeah.
that hard. Be nice to us. You know how many hours I watch fights for this? You can
Hours.
just like.
Hours.
Yeah.
Right. Enjoy these fights. It's a really good card. Lots of good fights on the undercard as well. Some heavyweight bangers. And Oban Elliott, make sure you check him out. Always fun to watch Oban Elliott. Enjoy these fights. Thank you very much, my love. And we'll see you next time.